Good morning. Welcome, beautiful beings.
Hello, everybody. Please like and subscribe. It's free.
Please. Thank you.
Cheers, Deb. Cheers, Gerald.
Cheers, Deb. Cheers, Kate.
Cheers,
Yay.
Gerald. Cheers, Kate. We all have our cups. I have plain, regular black coffee in my mug. What do you have in yours, Gerald?
I have iced coffee with whole milk.
Ooh, yummy.
Kate?
I have Earl Grey Tazo tea with toffee stevia drops.
Mm.
Oh, nice.
Yum. A sweet
We're
tea.
just fancier than ours.
No, when I discovered that the coffee was hurting my tummy, it was really hard for me to give up coffee. I've had coffee my whole life, probably. Well, Mama always had it, and she let us have it when we were like in teenagers. So it's a really long time to enjoy something and then suddenly go, oh, that's what's causing that. Ow, is hard, So I miss it. I like to smell it when I go into restaurants. I'm like, I know that smell.
Yeah. Could you bring me a cup of coffee that I could just smell?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I would totally do that,
your coffee
actually.
machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Take a whiff every morning, and then drink my tea. So,
but it does, depending upon the type of coffee, it can be very irritating to your stomach.
Right.
It can be very acidic.
It can.
So.
Well, and it's interesting too that one day your body is one way and the next day it's not. The next day it's changed. As we get older, it changes. And I think we're not used to it changing like that, like so dramatically. Because I actually thought I was having heart issues or, ulcer issues because it was really painful. But the minute that I stopped with the coffee, all of that went away. I mean, it would just haven't had it since. So,
isn't that amazing that something so simple that you've done forever could make such an important change?
Yeah.
And I think it's kudos to you for noticing it.
Well, it's kind of scary because yeah.
Okay. But I mean, and it could have taken years to figure it out, but you figured it out.
Right.
So
I had a little help.
I have neglected to say welcome, Gerald, to
Thank you.
Cup of Chat, which I just changed the name on Gerald's suggestion.
It was a group effort.
It was a group effort, but that's the one we landed on, and that was his suggestion. So thank you, Gerald. Yeah. I want to just quickly acknowledge
hi, Angela.
Angela Cardamansi Mesquite was the first. Where did she go? There she is. If I can get it to there, she is. Was the first up in chat. So hi, Angela. Good morning. Then.
So is Angela an overachiever?
She is.
She was here first. Okay.
She is a bit of an overachiever, and quite talented at it as well.
Oh, very nice.
She kept me while I was indisposed. She kept me in supplements and medication and breathing equipment, and so she was. And so definitely, she's very talented at overachieving.
Thank you for doing that.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Amy's here. Good morning. Let's see. We have also Dream Detective Kate is here. Good morning, Kate.
Ooh. Wow.
And
that's awesome.
TarotStache is also here.
I thought you blocked him from your channel.
I would never do that.
Aw. I love it. Kate's like,
Ms. Sarah D has joined us. She was finishing up with Jane, and I try really hard not to overlap Jane's show because I know she's on first thing in the morning, and
There's room for all of the channels. That's why
There
there's playback.
is. There is. And that's why I love playback. Because
Yes.
two of my favorite card readers are on at the same time on Monday. So I generally end up.
You pick Mark, don't you? Please.
Once in a while, I do pick Mark, and I alternate between you and Mark. And I always watch whoever I didn't see. Can you hear the sirens?
Yes.
I live not very far from a fire station. So they do.
That's good. That's, yeah.
They frequently.
But Deb, people like you, I really appreciate. People who are kind enough to spend their time watching any of the content. I think playback is great because I can change the speed.
Yes.
And so it's like, wow, it's one of those things that it matters. And I may be doing something with Mark on Saturday. I have to confirm with him. Hi, Hershey.
You guys, I have to tell you that your show you did together was so entertaining and informative and warm and lovely, and I just really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And I would love to see you guys do more together, more and more often. Good morning, Hershey.
Hi, Hershey.
Wendy's also joined us. Good morning. And that's everyone who has. Wait, it jumped. Never mind.
It just jumped. Yeah, you've got several more.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah,
Lisa is here.
We'll call them out if you want. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Lisa's driving.
Lisa is working.
Yes.
Lisa's driving and Lisa's working. Is that or lurking?
Yes, and
Miss Foster is driving.
Is Manasa also lurking? Manasa,
are you lurking? But here, Manasa's there. I have to say, back and forth with Jamie and Gerald on my channel, Manasa is going to be asking the questions.
Nice.
And it's at a special time, so it's early on that day.
That will be, yes, I saw that in my suggested pop-ups. So. And yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Hershey is listening and removing energy.
Nice.
She's having a whole thing this morning. So
nice.
I understand that. I had to remove some energy too and move it around and let some things go. Oh, I had to let some things go.
I love it. I had to let some things go. You're getting out. You're going.
I had made a thought form for protection at my other place. And so I realized that I needed to, that was part of severing the connection to the old apartment, was going to be releasing that thought form. And you guys, it was so cute. It was a little pink elephant with golden wings that I named Ella Faye. It broke my heart to release Ella Faye, but I did. I released Ella Faye and sent her back from whence she came to be incarnated into something else good for someone else. Nice. So that was, but I needed to do that because, it was part of the connection to that old place. See, we got Lisa and Carol, genealogy junkie is here. If my chat keeps jumping. Okay. There she is.
Yeah, there's so many choices. Yeah, with YouTube. It's great.
So I think Deanne is here, Blue Crescent Tarot. Good morning.
Blue Crescent Tarot, the inventor of the Sip Sip.
Yes.
Let me rephrase that. I credit Deanne with saying Sip Sip. So and then Also, I credit Deanne with Tuckbox Rage.
Tuck's, I think many of us experience Tuckbox Rage. Claudia, Cat Mama Meow, is here.
Hi, Claudia.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for popping in. Now,
Wendy's going back to work. Wendy's going back to work.
Yeah.
Wendy. Well, thank you for popping in with us. Joan B is also here. Good morning.
Esther G.
Oh, Esther hasn't popped. There she is.
There you go.
Good morning, Esther. Now, I hope I have.
It's a good thing we have a big table.
It is. And there is
It
room
is.
for everyone. Everyone is welcome at the table.
Yes, absolutely.
And everybody has their favorite silverware and their favorite plates and their glasses and their favorite food.
Ooh.
Yes.
And the tablescape is just charming.
It is. And this food is calorie free.
Of course it is. Of course
My
it is.
favorite kind.
Yes.
And I just got a flash of the Lost Boys table with all of their food that they imagined and eating it. That was yes, that's exactly what it's like. That's what.
Yes.
There we go.
I mean, I'm getting chills just thinking about that too, Deb. Thanks for sending them my way. That's a pretty good distance for Deb to share her chills. I'm like, woo!
Oh, it's so cute.
No.
Damn.
How's everyone been? We haven't been on for a couple of weeks because I was sick. Wait, did we do one last week? We didn't, did we? I was sick. So let's catch up.
Yeah.
How's everybody?
You sound so good. And like you're, totally back. Are you 100% now?
I'm pretty close. I'm still a little bit winded. So,
Yeah.
and I get tired. But other than that, I'm mostly back. I'm
good.
That's awesome.
It's normal as I get.
I think normal is overrated.
I do too. Speaking as the mother of a disabled child, normal is highly overrated.
Oh, and Deb, I was watching. I got halfway through your story yesterday.
What'd you think?
Okay, everybody, you're all watching. You know that Deb tells great stories. It's like, go over there, like it, comment it, because
Thank
Deb,
you
are. Okay, I'm getting emotional because they're telling me to. This is one of your gifts that you're starting to realize how important it is, not just for yourself, because you feel it. When you tell yourself a story, you also change and elevate the energy, adjust the energy.
Yes.
And then you can share it in this format. You can share it because in 30 years, somebody needs to see that video and they're going to be able to find it.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, Gerald. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was really powerful, Deb. It was.
Well, thank you.
It was so tenderly laid out. And
I just had to get it. Yeah, I had to get it before I forgot. My memory is so terrible. I would have, if I had not done it then, I would have forgotten that I ever had that story.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that because I don't know. I just tell the stories. Don't work too hard, Claudia, please. I just tell the story. I record it that way and then upload it. I rarely watch it back. I don't have the slightest idea what I said. So I don't always know if I'm overlapping stories because I didn't watch them to begin with.
Well, and to that point, if the fact that you tell the story, you post it, and then you let it go, allows it to grow and evolve.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And then it becomes part of your history. It becomes, and I think history is an important thing, because we don't have to repeat history. We need to learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say I stand on the shoulders of all of my ancestors, all of
Yes.
their successes, all of their failures, all of
Yes.
their efforts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important. Deb, it's weird. I just had hang on. There you go. I got it. It's bizarre. I actually had I don't know how it happened, but I was looking at you and an ant crawled across your face. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Excuse me. What is that on Deb's face? And it was an ant on my screen.
Oh, wow.
I do tend to attract things.
You know, the thing that I loved about it too, Deb, was that you experienced something that was on the scale of 1 to 10 pretty horrific. And the fact that you survived it and that you have thrived after it is a
people say that all the time, but it's just...
But it's important. No. It's not nothing. It's something, because someone that is experiencing a trauma, someone that is experiencing a health issue, someone that is experiencing something that they don't know whether they're going to make it to the other side of the bridge, you are living proof and encouragement and this warmth that says you can do this too. Because
yes, and that's why I tell my stories, because you can do this.
Yes,
you can do it.
Right. Even your son,
even out on the other side.
Even the way you related about your son, you know, that intuition, that compassion, and that understanding that comes through on his level with his story is also empowering to anyone that watches it. It's just really. It's a real sweetness, and I'm just so grateful that you do them, because it means
he would be so happy to tell you his story. One of these days I'll have to record him telling his story, because he talks a blue streak. He didn't speak until he was 4, but then he never closed his mouth since then. So if his eyes are open, so is his mouth.
Well, and Deb, I wanna pause for a second, and I want to make sure, and this is me being Gerald, and so I'm going to heap some praise in your general direction. So gird your loins, get ready.
Okay.
I want to check. Did you hear what Kate was saying about how it was important for you to do this?
Yes, I did. And it is important. And it's important. I think it's what my guides keep telling me, that I have to speak. I have to tell. I have to. And I think it's my story that I have to say. It's not necessarily any gigantic words of wisdom. It's just my story.
Yeah.
It's the Book of Deb, Purple Elephant.
Yes.
The Book of Deb, Purple Elephant. Well, and it is one of those things that not every... I learned that some of the things that I take for granted about myself, because that's just how I am, not everybody can do that. So not everyone can tell stories as clearly as you can. And so I think it's important for us to recognize, okay, maybe that's part of my superpower tool belt.
It is. And it's, you know, as I was growing up, I listened to a lot of storytellers.
Yes.
And I learned to tell stories from them. And of course, I've read everything. So I learned to tell stories at an early age. And I used to write them, but I stopped writing to raise a disabled child. So I lost the habit of writing.
Right. I think it's often very difficult for us to understand how other people perceive and what they receive back from us. it takes sharing with people that will say, hey, that's important. That's a good thing. You should keep doing that, because we don't often have that feedback of, how we are affecting people, how we are affecting the energy of the planet. And I'm a firm believer that anytime you put out something good, that you've changed the universe. It's not just your house or your family or, your laundry sheets. It's everything all the way out. Okay. I'll grab this. Okay. Reset. Yeah. So what are we talking about today? What do you want to talk about today?
It's Gerald's the guest. What would you like to talk about?
Yes.
I'm curious about what people in chat would like us to talk about.
Okay.
Because I like that interaction. But I did want to show something to you, Deb. I believe Deb made me do it. Do you have this deck?
I do have this deck. I love this deck. What do you think about it?
I have used it a little bit, and I have enjoyed it. And I was at my local witchy shop, and I saw it, and I'm like going, well, I heard it, and then I saw it, and I'm like going, I'm looking at it, and I'm like going, there's 70 cards in this.
Wow. There are 70 cards in there, and the cool part about it is all they have is like a couple of keywords.
Yeah.
And
are you
so everything else comes to you. Yes. The Literary Witch's Oracle.
Nice.
And so I was like, going, sometime if Deb has me come back, maybe we'll read with it. And
yes, that would be wonderful. It's an interesting deck too, because it's all authors. They're all authors.
And then elements of a story.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So each author represents an element of a story. And then what I like to call the bag of tricks is all the tools.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest of the cards are tools. So everything you pull out has no meaning and every meaning.
Yes. Yeah. So
nice.
I wanted to show you this. I recently acquired this,
That's
and I thought
cool.
of you.
So thank you. I know I influenced oil painter Diana Bowles to get a deck of those too. So that deck spoke to me one day when I was in the metaphysical store, and it was the only deck of that kind that they had, and so it came home with me.
Yeah. So
okay, Tarot D has a situation to take care of. But we'll be back. And Lisa said, my father told stories, and when he passed, there was the emptiness that filled the room. Does he still tell stories to you, Lisa? I bet he does.
And you can honor him by you telling the stories now.
Yes.
That's true.
Bring him in.
Amy says, I grew up, hang on. There we go. I grew up in a household where I am having technical difficulties today, but that's okay, because I grew up in a household where I was abused every which way, and I told I couldn't do what I wanted to do. It took me years to survive that, but now I'm where I'm at, and now I help people where I can. And I think that many of us here have a similar experience of now we're sharing what we know so that others can know they can get through it, that they can come out on the other end and be happy and healthy. And
Yeah.
that Hypnicity says she wishes that she could have recorded Dad and Mom telling stories.
That is such a huge element of people that are audio preferenced. I saved a voicemail from my mom. She said, "Hi, honey, I'm so sorry I missed your call. I was on the phone with someone who wouldn't stop talking, and I finally told her I had to go to the bathroom. He. But I can't imitate her laugh, but she had this little tiny laugh, and then she said, "So please call me back as soon as you can, and I love you very much." And then she hung up. And at one point, we had to change phones. And I was so afraid that voicemail was going to get lost. And my husband had taken them to the Apple store, and I couldn't call him because he had my phone. And he had the car. And so I had to have somebody drive me there. As I'm there, I'm like bawling my eyes out, thinking that I won't hear this voicemail from my mom again. And we got there, and I ran up to the thing and I said, "Did you do anything with my phone?" He said, "Yeah, I'm just now finishing." And I just started sobbing, and he said, "I'm so sorry. What's wrong?" I told him about the voicemail, and he retrieved it. And he put it back on my phone. It was so cool. Put it back on my phone. So my mom's message to me is recorded in my voicemails anytime that I want to hear her voice, hear her laugh, and have her tell me that she loves me. It's so special. And it's like whenever I know that people have little ones, I tell them, record their laugh when they're toddlers. Record the baby laugh, because it changes. And it's so special. It's so special and so funny, right? It's like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. I did an oral history of my parents. Gosh, maybe it's been 25 years ago. And I come from a big family. I'm the youngest of 12.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and everybody has heard me say, Mom and Dad stopped when they got it right.
That's where I am. Of course.
But I collected questions from all of my siblings and the grandkids. So I and what we did is we videotaped it. So we actually have Mom and Dad, and that was back in the day when you put it on a tape.
Sure.
And it has been transferred to DVD now.
Nice.
But it's just great. And so you're right, Kate. Record those laughs, the stories, the silly jokes. So I think it's great. It's so important. Yeah, preserve it.
Yeah.
Very much so. Kate, do you read tarot? Do you read cards or okay?
Yes. Yeah, I read tarot, I do oracle cards, I do mediumship. I talk to angels. We're doing a show tomorrow. We'll tell you what your angels' names are, which is a really interesting aspect of owning and acknowledging the gift that they're there.
When she says we, she means her and Valerie B. Illumination Portal.
Yes.
They do a show called Refresh. And
nice.
And
I'm not real sure that this is a refresh one. It's kind of muddy because it kind of goes along with the dream detective stuff. So I know I'm a Gemini. I'm confusing.
I live with Gemini, so.
You say confusing. The rest of us say exciting.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, okay. So, but you're now, when did you get focused on the dream, being a dream detective, which is totally awesome because I picture you with like, oh, wait a minute here. I think I have a prop for that. I could just see you with like this, with your tiny hand.
Do it.
Yes.
And the magnifying glass looking at it. It's like, what do we have here?
Hold that prop. I'll be right back because I really should have that here.
No.
We'll just talk amongst ourselves. Jane's here too. I've been trying to acknowledge those coming in. Jane's here. She's a Gemini rising.
Oh, there we go.
My partner is a Gemini. Ron, Unconditional Love and Grace.
There you go.
And I think, is that everyone? Hypnicity. Juno is here. Juno just popped in.
Awesome. So to answer your question, I've always had people come to me and ask me questions. Being a spiritual counselor, being someone that can help them walk through an experience or understand an experience. And I started watching YouTube in 2019, and during the shutdown. And at one point I saw Allie Martin from Heart and Soul say, "Hey, I'm going to do a dream class. Anybody that wants to come, explore this with me."
I remember when she did that.
Yeah. So I signed up for the class, and it was a blast. It was really so much fun. And then after the class, Allie said, "I think you have a really interesting insight into people's dreams. And would you consider doing a show and explain how this all takes place?" So it was July last year. It's not been very long.
I'm terrible with dates. So.
Yeah, me too. So I think it was like somewhere last year that we started doing the show and explaining how to access that realm and who's there, and
That's great.
who's who in the zoo. So I'm really new to all of this. I don't know the technology. I don't know the who does what or what their names are behind their handles, and all that good thing. But it's been a blast. It really has. And
good.
When Deb and I talked about doing Cuppa and Chat, we really just wanted to have that experience of sharing with people where they could just come to the table and talk about what's on their mind. Let's share with each other and connect. So that's it in a big nutshell.
That's great.
He wanted to join.
Yeah.
But yes, and so we started this show sort of like a remembrance of the things from the past. So at my family, the kitchen table was where everyone gathered to share whatever was going on. The family gossip, just whatever subject came up. You just sat around the table, and that's where you did all of your serious conversation.
Well, yeah, because the kitchen, the heart of the home.
Yes. So we thought we'd bring that back. And so that's how this format was born. Monkey is getting lots of love. I wanted to mention Manasseh's doing an amazing job putting everyone's links in the chat. Angela Cardamansi Mesquite is saying hi to everyone. So I want to acknowledge the moderators.
Yes.
And the awesome job they're doing. Everybody's saying they see Monkey. So Monkey, your smile.
Monkey's here.
See, he is smiling. He smiles all the time.
I think the chat is allowing us to just figure out what to talk about, Gerald. Do you want to share a dinner table or a kitchen table story that you have a fondness with? I mean, how do you fit 12 children and 2 adults on a table?
You have a big table and you have benches on either side. So there were not chairs. There was a bench.
Okay.
And so everybody sat, we sat at the bench, and Dad always got served first.
Yes.
And then stuff got passed around the table. Mom always ate last, of course. That's how it worked.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for a long time, we would always sit and have dinner together. I remember that was a natural thing for me.
Yes.
And so, and sometimes we would have the same meals each, on certain days of the week. Like Friday, it was hamburgers, baked beans, and potato chips.
Ooh.
So that was
So-
something to look forward to. That I'm sure with a family that large, that was like a real treat.
A couple of
Yes.
bags of chips, right? Yeah.
A couple of lot bags of chips, and yeah, and
Yeah.
I also learned how to, if I wanted seconds, how to eat very quickly.
Okay.
And I actually never, to this day, I don't like sharing food from my plate
Mm-hmm.
because
You're
it's
not
mine.
alone. Yes. Yeah.
It's
Right.
like, you know, get your own damn food. Excuse me. Get
Yeah.
your own food.
Yes. Now, did your mom always do all the cooking?
Yes, for the most part.
Yeah.
That's what I recall.
Did
Yeah.
she teach you all how to cook?
No.
No. And can I ask where you grew up? Where were you when you were little?
In Ohio.
In Ohio. Okay.
So yeah, and it was one of those things that, yeah, and you know, and I remember when I moved out to college and I wanted to make something, I would call mom up and I'm looking, how do you make this? Oh, a little bit of that and some of this, and I'm like, this is not helpful.
Yes. Yes.
And this is how, you know, her mother, she was a tailoress, but she could also, I remember hearing stories because mom and dad grew up through the Depression, and they would, you know, heard stories about grandma, my maternal grandmother would found an apple when they had gone fishing. She found an apple on the way home, and she made that into dessert, a really exquisite dessert.
Yes.
It's like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
And so
to learn that skill of stretching it or overlapping it into the next day's meal, or even how to plan, you know, how much shopping to do for that many in the household.
Yes.
is pretty spectacular. Did you have sisters that would help, or was she on her own the whole time?
I'm not, sometimes the kids helped, but mom just, part of it was you didn't want to be in the kitchen if she was cooking because you'd be in the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And it's all a good thing, but I do remember going to the grocery store with mom because we would take 2 carts and we would fill those carts up, and we would get, do you remember the
Greens.
milk cartons, the plastic
Yes.
milk cartons?
Yes.
We would buy 2 of those when we'd go to the grocery store, and then we would go back for more during the week because it was basically 1 gallon of milk a meal.
Yeah. Did you have an outdoor freezer or a garage freezer or a?
We did. We had a chest freezer in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
That would almost be a necessity to be able to have enough things on hand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing your mom was like my dad, just walk in the kitchen and throw stuff together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would come out always being enough and always being nourishing and always being spectacular. So,
well, and if anybody complained about the food, they wouldn't eat. And there was a time where I didn't want something for dinner, or I didn't want my breakfast. I didn't eat my breakfast. So I had it sat in front of me for my lunch. I had it sat in front of me for my dinner.
Yes.
I've experienced
that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just, you know, and it's, you know, I mean, I had a fine
We can't afford to be wasteful.
Yes.
When there are so many people that need to eat.
Yeah. Well, and I remember like packing, mom would pack sandwiches for lunch, and she would actually, she would take a loaf of bread and make all of these sandwiches with it because that's what we had. We took sandwiches, you know, bologna, pimento loaf. Do you remember pimento loaf?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so we would have that. Nothing fancy.
Yeah.
But we all had enough food.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I have mine is 5 children and 2 adults, and my mom was one of the only moms on the street that worked. and she worked in the family business with my father. So when I was 5, my father decided that he was going to divide up all the chores of the household among the 5 children. So each week we had different chores that we had to do. And when we had the kitchen detail, it was plan the menu, shop the menu, cook the menu, clean up the menu. And mind you, you're talking about someone who's 10, 9, 8, and then 5 trying to cook, meals for 7 people, throughout the week. And I'll tell you, when Dell and I had, kitchen detail, hot dogs were really big. Because we didn't have fractions. We couldn't read a recipe. Right. And so, the weeks that we were on, things were kind of lean. And the shopping detail, oh my gosh, same thing. After church, 2 carts, the only people in the whole place with, 2 carts full of groceries. Never failed that my father would get there. They'd ring it all up and he'd look in his pockets and go, oh, I'll be right back. I'll leave my daughter here as security to go get my wallet. And I would sit there in the store waiting for my dad to come back. I didn't have a dime to call my mom. And he would get home and do his regular routine, which was take off the 3-piece suit jacket and start gardening. And it would be hours before my mother would say, where's Katie? Oh, she's at the grocery store. It was always such a traumatic experience just because it felt embarrassing. Like, why am I sitting there with these groceries and people that I knew were coming in and out? And didn't your dad have enough money to pay for the groceries? Just all this stuff. And it was simply because he left his wallet at home. But on the days that my older sister cooked, we feasted. But boy, when it came to Dell and me, spaghetti and hot dogs and peanut butter sandwiches, it was crazy. Yeah, because we were just too little.
Yeah. Well, and we did, we did a lot of gardening. So we had 2 huge gardens. So I spent a lot of my summers weeding the garden.
Yeah.
So, because how else are you going to feed that many kids?
Right. And have it outside. We didn't grow vegetables. Daddy grew flowers and trees and lawn.
We had cucumbers, we had beans, we had peas, we had bell peppers.
Did you have squash?
Tomatoes. We had cucumbers. We didn't do. The kids weren't a lot of. Hi, Grace.
Hi, Grace.
And we had to. Squash wasn't something that we ate a lot. I don't think we enjoyed it.
Oh.
So, but it's fine now. So.
Yummy. Yeah, my dad would stop on the way coming home and he'd occasionally walk in with what looked like thistles. And he'd go, oh, you have to taste this. And we would be like, are you kidding? Oh my gosh, I don't even want to touch it. How am I going to eat that? But he would just come home with the most amazing things and be like, okay, I'm going to cook this up. And we'd be like, it's all yours. Because we don't know what that is. But, he came from another country and that's how they did things. That's how they learned. Yeah. And he knew what was okay and what was good.
Back when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother and my great aunt, her sister. And we would go out and just drive around in rural areas and stop by the side of the road and pick whatever greens were growing there and take them home and cook them.
Yeah.
And my grandparents always had a garden. They lived through the Depression, and they would so everything. They didn't waste anything. So they had the garden, and they grew lots of different vegetables. On my other side, my dad's people were on a farm, so they didn't know.
Sure.
It's one of those things where they didn't know they didn't have anything until the government came along and told them they didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and I'm the same way. I had everything I needed. I didn't have everything I wanted, but I had everything I
right,
needed, and
Yeah.
that was good.
exactly.
Yeah, that's how it felt. I had one pair of shoes for church and one pair of shoes for school. And if I
Yes.
lost them or got them dirty or whatever, I would have to wait until the next year when we
Yep.
shopped for our one outfit for school and our one outfit for Easter, and
Yes,
it would arrive in a box from J.C. Penney or Sears or wherever it was coming from. But that knowledge of being careful and yet still providing,
Yes.
and I think now what they sacrificed so that we could have those things, especially if money was tight for whatever reason. But my mom grew up where everybody had a farm, and they would send her out at family dinners to go get vegetables and fruits and stuff and fill up the basket and bring the basket back in. And after several hours, they would go, you know what? I don't know what's going on. Go get Jean. And they would go get her, and she'd be sitting there eating out of the bag. Eating
Oh,
out.
sure.
It was the best. She said it was the best. It was so good to just take it off the vine and pop it in. And so eventually they stopped having her go grocery shopping in the garden because they knew that they were not going to have anything left.
Yeah.
because she just sit out there and eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I grew up with hand-me-downs as well. So before school, all of us kids, we would go through the hand-me-downs. Oh, here, Kate, let me make you feel comfortable. We would do the hand-me-downs before school started. I got Kate rolling.
Oh dear.
And if it helps, here, if I do this, you can see how big it is with my tiny hand.
Oh my gosh. I haven't laughed like that in a long time. I thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Now let me unblush.
There you go. No, but we would always do the hand-me-downs before school, so that mom knew what would fit us from what was happened before. And the three older than me were girls, so I didn't have to worry about that.
Oh, you're lucky.
No, I was not dressing up like as a girl or anything like that. But and so I did, however. So I was okay with hand-me-down, but there was a period where when I was like 12 or 13, where the world's changing, everything is horrible, and all that stuff. I did draw the line. I wanted my own underwear.
Oh yes.
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 I mean,
yes. Yeah.
So
I always got hand-me-downs too, but my sisters were 4 and 5 years older than I am, so I was wearing fashion that was 40 years old.
You were retro.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible. It was terrible. I couldn't wait to have something of my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. But back then, my mom and dad knew a lot of people, and through church and things like that. So, dad knew somebody who was a farmer who would bring his tractor and till up the soil for us.
Nice.
Just to help. So, that's cool. That's that idea of community.
Yeah.
So
clothes. Yes, we had friends whose clothes were all completely unique because their parents could sew or they could sew, and they were always amazing because they were just so different from the catalog.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mom was a seamstress, and she sewed. My mom could sew blue jeans. She could make a winter coat. I had this winter coat that I loved that she made that was kind of a sable brown with a satin lining. It was very chic. For the 70s, it was very chic.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
Oh my God.
So, and my grandmother, my dad's mother, taught her to sew because her mother was not a seamstress. She sewed, but it wasn't the quality that my grandmother, who grew up in the country and never bought a pattern, just looked at you and made a pattern and cut out the fabric. And sewed it together. She's who taught my mom to sew. And so my mom was a really good seamstress, and that's how she made her living a lot of times, was doing specialty work, because she did the things that you pay for. She'd do hand stitching.
Sure. Wow.
Giant skirts for square dances kind of thing. Or she did weddings. She did, whatever specialty kind of thing, she could do it.
And it's so amazing now, because even my daughters will say, but Mom, I'm not sure how to do that. Well, honey, do you have a needle? Do you have thread? I mean, they just, the art of repairing your clothing, or, making it more flourished, or whatever it is, it just goes to Goodwill. Something happens to the garment, and it's immediately given to Goodwill when it's perfectly repairable. But I think too that there's a thing that they say, well, I wore that last year, or I wore that last week, I got to go wear something new. And just this disposable way of being, of just getting rid of things. It's amazing. It's amazing how we were able to stretch even the clothing, stretch the dollars, stretch the clothing. And, I'm just curious too, were you guys always told to go outside and play?
Yeah.
Don't mess up the house, go outside and play. What kind of outdoor activities did you get into when you were young? We had hide and go seek in the dark in the summer that the kids of the community would play until like 2:00 in the morning. I mean, I couldn't believe they would let us go that long, but we were, playing hide and go seek, with a eight home block kind of thing, where the parents knew where we were. They all knew our names. We all knew their names. And, so some of the things that I grew up playing and doing and enjoying the outdoors, my girls never had a chance to do that. But, cardboard box sliding down the hill when the hill went brown was no longer the hills were actually a really good source for play, because in the springtime they were grass bomb wars, that you'd pull them up by the root and there'd be a clod.
Oh my gosh.
You remember that? Did you do that,
I
Gerald?
do. I remember that. Yeah. We had hills that we would go sledding on them. We did kick the can.
Okay.
We did sardines, which is basically one person hides, and then if you find the person, you hide with them.
Yes.
So that was always fun.
It gets a little giggly after 2 or 3 people.
It does. Yeah.
And then that gives away the location.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, and I did a lot of tree climbing, because I lived out, not in I lived in the country, not remote country, but we had trees and stuff like that. And I would spend a lot, I'd have to garden, but then, I'd go exploring in the woods and stuff like that. So
I remember even making kites, making our own kites. I
remember doing that. Oh, wow. And I remember playing in a creek.
Yes.
Crab
pulling. Looking for the frogs.
Crawdads. We find crawdads in the creek that we went to. And when we went to my country grandmother's, and there was a farm, and she had a water pump, because she didn't have water in the house, and
oh, wow.
There was a well, and if for really big projects, we'd go and water from the spring. If everybody was there were like 17 grandkids. So they would start, I told this story on my channel, but when my brother and my cousin met each other, they took an instant hate to each other. They were like 18 months old. And they slipped away and got into the chicken yard and had a war with the chicken piles. So by the time the adults found them, it was funny. So they had to haul water put it in a wash tub out behind the house, and they started with the cleanest kid, because you have to haul the water. So they started with the cleanest kids, and here these two little brats covered in chicken waste and had to wait until the end. And then the indignity is that he and my cousin, who is a little, well, she's not a little girl now, but she was a little girl then, had to sit in the tub together.
Oh my goodness.
And get scrubbed with the brush and the homemade lye soap and get.
Yowza.
They
That'll
never
teach
did
'em.
that again. And now they're friends. 60 years later, they're friends. But the whole, when there's a lot of people and not a lot of conveniences, you have to share. You have to make sure everybody gets the attention. And and if you're the dirtiest kid, you have to wait until last to get in the tub.
Oh my gosh.
So the water's cold and dirty.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so
That's
cute.
great. Yeah.
It is.
Wow.
I remember in the summer times when it get really hot, we would just go to the 5 and dime store and buy packages of balloons and have water balloon wars, right up on the street where, you hoped you got hit because it was hot. And the splash, the splash of water was so good because it was so cold. There were so many things that we would create and figure out, something new, something fun, something inclusive, for everybody outside and in the fresh air. I just really miss that for, this generation of kids that don't have that freedom. Or life changed and suddenly it was, do you know the secret password? Do you know your home phone number? Do you know, it was like, wow, all those changes came on suddenly that just kept all the kids inside.
That was about the same time. Do you have a plan to get out of the house when it catches on fire, kind of thing? That there was a plan. Where's your meeting place? And like you said, the words, the code words, the passwords.
Right. Yeah. I knew of families that were building bomb shelters in their backyard, instead of throwing the ball around with the German Shepherd, it was suddenly being dug up for a bomb shelter, because, and then the school drills, where you had to get underneath your desk and you had to hold your head and, it was like.
Let me ask you something about getting under the desk. This always boggled my mind because even as a small child, I saw the pictures of the bombs.
I know. We all kind of thought it was ridiculous.
How is getting under my desk gonna save me?
Who knows?
It's yeah.
That and the more appropriate one was because I lived in Tornado Alley. We all had to go in the hall and get on our hands and knees and cover our heads up against the wall so that hopefully we wouldn't get blown away by the tornado. It was nothing like what kids have to do now, which is active shooter drills.
Oh, I know. Poor babies. That alone to me would be, I would think.
Deb, I grew up where there were lots of tornadoes, so we had the tornado drills. And one of my claims to fame is my father created Skywarn, which is a tornado spotting service using ham radios or amateur radio operators.
Oh, wow.
So my dad was a ham radio operator, and after the Xenia tornado, which is I think in 1978 in Xenia, Ohio, where tornadoes came through and just basically demolished the entire town, Dad rallied the troops and they provided communications they provided the communications.
Right.
And so from there, they created the weather spotting, so you could spot tornadoes. And,
wow, so cool. So did he spend a lot of time doing the radio stuff? Did you guys listen in? Did you
Oh,
participate in that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And none of the kids actually back then actually did the ham radio. And it wasn't until I was older when I realized that family vacations in the summertime didn't have everybody else didn't go and do ham radio stuff. We would go to these, different things, and that was great. We kids loved it, but
yeah,
we always thought that, we're going to this thing, and not everybody did that.
Right. Did you ever see the movie Frequency with Dennis Quaid and the guy that was in the Count of Monte Cristo, and he also played Jesus. It's a movie. It's I know I'm in the 90s, I think. It's called Frequency, and it's about a man who is watching or listening to the radio stuff coming back and forth, and at one point he realizes that the person on the other end is his dad.
Oh, I think I may have watched that at one point.
It's a really good.
It's been
movie.
a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
And so that's one of the things. But again, it's that it was fun. We were included.
Yes. Yeah, it's a different experience. My husband.
It was a family thing. It was a family thing.
Right.
Yes.
But how cool that they were able to realize that this was a really good tool to alert everyone. I mean, how cool is that? That is awesome. Yeah. I went to Missouri because Missouri. My daughter went to school there, and in visiting the college, they had a tornado warning where we were all ushered inside. And I was so fascinated by the weather, by the purple clouds and the lightning going between the clouds and the clouds going different directions. And I'd never seen that before. And the hail. And at one point, the ladies that were around me were like, could you please come away from the door because we're not going to be able to catch you. If something happens and it drops down, you will be sucked up in it. And I was like, okay, but just another minute. I want to see this. I want to experience this. And they were like, only the girl from California would be doing this, standing there and waiting for the tornado to drop on top of her. I mean, but it was really beautiful and fascinating, because I'd never seen anything like it growing up in California.
When I lived in Oklahoma City, my family, and that included dogs and cats, and they would all go in the bathroom and have like a mattress, and I would be the ones, because there wasn't room in there. I would be the one standing by the window or on the front porch or out looking out the back and watching the transformers pop and looking at the little whirlpool in my pool that was the water spout that was starting to form. And it would go over. I can sleep through a tornado.
Oh my goodness.
Now I have never had my house destroyed, but I have been I've been there when they've gone overhead dozens of times.
Right.
And I've seen giant tornadoes. I've seen giant tornado devastation.
Right.
But I've not been specifically in a tornado that did damage to the location that I was in.
Right. And there was no touchdown near us. It was just the weather effects in the warning stages where I thought it was fascinating because I hadn't seen clouds do that, where they were on top of each other going another way and, all that.
Okay, I completely understand because I used to go, my father would do these training seminars for the weather spotting training. And so I would go with him. So I can spot bad weather and tornadoes. And so to this day, all of my siblings who were involved with this, when there is bad weather, the first thing we do is we go outside to the highest point so we can see everything. You know, I mean, so
Yes.
when the tornado sirens go off in, where I live, first thing I do is go outside and look.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we even have sirens where I live. I seriously, I don't think that they're here. Don't think that I've ever heard them. So it's it's a whole different experience when you travel to, to a place it is.
We have sirens all the time. My dad, who was raised in the country, would always, he said, it's not safe in the house. It's not, the safest place to be is outside in a ditch.
Below the earth level.
And if you have to, don't try to outrun one, go toward it because they zigzag.
Interesting.
Oh, which I have not tried.
Okay, so here's a question. We're talking about sirens, and we heard a siren with you, Deb.
Yeah.
And is when you are do you hear sirens as warning signs of anything in your spiritual, your mediumship, your magic work, or anything like that?
I'm not sure because I hear sirens so often, I kind of ignore them. So I'm thinking probably not. I don't, because sometimes I can't differentiate whether it's in my head or if it's physical. So I'm thinking probably that is not my warning because I hear them so often, I ignore them.
Okay.
Now, what Lizzie says here, if the sky is green and there's a weird silence, yeah, it's coming.
Where,
totally, yeah.
That weird calmness that happens before an event, like for us in the Bay Area, people that were driving around the Bay at the time before the earthquake noticed that it was smooth as glass. There was no ripple in the Bay, the San Francisco Bay, minutes before the earthquake hit.
Yes.
That it had this eerie kind of, there's something wrong with this picture. I'm not quite sure what it is. But then later it clicked in that, oh my gosh, that was the earth preparing for the quake. And that's why that's why the waters were so still. But each place has their own thing. For us, the earthquake, there really isn't any kind of pre-warning. We might get a notice on our phone if there's a fire. We might get a notice on our phone if there's a flood or a blocked road for snow. But basically, it's pretty mild as far as having to, drop, duck, and cover or whatever that is. I don't even remember the words anymore from school. But it is an interesting piece to have that we have these ways of communicating to each other.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I think that's probably my warning is complete silence. Because there's always noise going on, either in my head or physically. So I think that that's probably my warning trigger to know something's up is complete silence.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I used to live near a freeway that had a tunnel going through it. And at one point there was this loud bang noise and it woke us up and my husband said, don't worry, go back to sleep. We're okay. And then when we woke up, I woke up because I could hear firemen saying, you have to come in from the east side. You have to come in from the east side. And I was like, how do I hear a fireman's radio, handheld radio transmission going on? And there had been an explosion in the tunnel at that time where all the fire was working backward, eastward. And they were all coming from the west, trying to put out the fire from the west, and they couldn't access it. They had to go from the east. And what happened was the traffic had completely stopped in order to, and this is rush hour traffic, had completely stopped because rescue crews were trying to get into this tunnel. And I remember thinking, somebody stopped the ocean, because the constant freeway noise to me was like the in and out of the ocean waves, right? And suddenly it was completely quiet and silent except for the radio transmissions. It was horrific. It was a terrible accident that had happened. But it, at the same time, I understand what you're saying now, because when it is quiet and silent, you know, that is kind of a heads up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Interesting. Who would have thought we would be talking about, you know, emergency responses?
Well, but it's a good thing to be aware of.
Mhm.
That, and depending on where you live, the emergency is different, but the response may be the same.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Very much
And it's
so.
also very cool that the connections are made so that we can feel supported, so that we can feel that we're not alone, and that we can survive through it, whatever it is that's coming our way or that is passing through. So
I'm going to shamelessly plug Cardamancy Mesquite now, because she's doing, whenever there's a disaster coming and we have warning, she hops on live and talks about what you need to do to make yourself safe in that circumstance. So she has added that to her lineup of what she does on her channel.
Awesome. And it's really thorough. It's really calm and it's very thorough. Thank you for doing that, Angela.
Yes, and she's very, she is very calm and matter of fact, so it's easy to follow what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So are you coming back to visit with us again next week too, Gerald?
You let me know. Have your people talk to my people? We'll work it out.
Yes.
Well, I mean, this has just been lovely. It's one of those things that I enjoy having conversations like this with people who are connected as the two of you are. I mean,
thank you.
You know you're connected, right? I mean, this isn't a surprise. This is okay. I'm just making sure.
No, it's not a surprise.
So, but I'm always happy when my schedule permits to join people and on a variety of topics. And I have opinions. Some of them may agree with yours and some of them may be different, but I'm usually not afraid to share them.
and we are not judgmental in this space. So whatever your opinion is, it's welcome, as long as it's an honest opinion.
And it doesn't hurt anybody else.
Right.
That's preferable, yes.
Yes, I love it. That's preferable. Now, Gerald, you've been put on notice. Well, and anytime that we can laugh and we can laugh together, that's a huge, huge help.
You're welcome, Angela.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it'd be cool if Angela actually put in her link.
Let me make sure she's
She is a mod. I'm seeing she's blue.
Are you?
She has a wrench after her.
Yeah.
She has a spanner after her. If you're on the other side, you know.
Yeah. Give lovely moderators there, Deb.
Yes, I have
so many sweet comments in the chat today. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yes, thank you for being with us. I'm not sure, I don't remember. Did I ever introduce Gerald? This is Gerald from TarotStache. Please like and subscribe his channel and hit that bell notification so you know when he has something coming up.
I do have a lot of different things that I do on my channel.
You do?
I do readings, I deck casuals, I do laugh and learns, and Tarot the Stash Way. We finished.
Yes, you do.
What'd you say,
magical tool talk. So
magic tool talk and laugh and learns, and that's I like that. It's fun.
It is.
It is, and so be sure and subscribe and hit your notification bell because you want to know when Gerald has something coming up.
Yeah.
Jeez. And I love it. Calla Lizzie is like, who he? Who he? and I think
she's never heard of you.
I mean, never.
Liz.
Yeah. Well, and I have to think about what I'm doing for the next element of Tarot the Stash Way, because I finished talking about all of the cards. I finished up with the majors.
Yes.
So.
Well, you could do what do cards pairings of cards, what they mean when they're together.
Yeah, I just thought that too, the pair. But maybe that's communications in Gemini right now.
I'm sure I have other things lurking in the back of my.
Well, Deb and Kate, you both could come on and we could talk about that together.
That would be lovely.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, we would love that.
Yeah.
And Kate's plans have changed, so she may be taking a short sabbatical, but our format is not going to end. We are going to,
so you're taking a very short sabbatical, just one with the tiny hands. It's this long. It's not this long.
That's right. That's right. And it's not until March. So middle of March. So I'm really excited that the universe opened that up, because we had a circumstance where it looked like a recovery time was going to be about 6 months. And I was willing to be nurse and cook and all that, chauffeur and everything else during that time. But then we had a little mini miracle where instead of replacing, we are just repairing with the help of surgeons. So I'm really excited that has shifted and changed and allowed me to continue doing this. I love doing this. I love sharing. I love the communication, the flow of energy. I love it all. And I was really, really sad at the idea of having to step back for a long period of time. So I'm really glad. There it is. There it is. Really, really glad that it's going to be only about a week.
I love that. That's exciting.
It is. It's really cool.
Yay.
I have to give credit to my ladies that sent Reiki and that knew the backstory and, were so supportive. And it is a beautiful community that way, where 1 minute it's one thing, and then the next minute when they take a look at it, it's like, wait a minute. Did something happen here? Because this is really good news.
Never underestimate the power of about a dozen crones.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You heard it here first, people. Never underestimate the power of a crone or a dozen crones.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes.
You want crones on your side.
Yes, you
basically
do.
That's a fact.
Oh,
crones
totally.
will mess you up.
They will mess you up. They know where to hide the bodies. That's a joke, by the way, for entertainment purposes only.
Absolutely. That's
right.
They also, they know stuff.
They do.
All right. So we want to be mindful of everyone's time. Okay. So while I'd love to stay here and chat all day, what we're going to do now is just say on this, crone power. On this note, we're going to say, until next time, beautiful beings.
Yeah. Cheers.